7 o'clock.
Continue.
Let's get this show on the road. My name's Joel McCarty. I got to be the chairman this year by missing a meeting and railroaded into the position. This is a public hearing. This is not a town meeting or a budget hearing. We can talk about anything we want, but what we want to talk about tonight is the pool. And we've got some information, not nearly as much as we'd like to have. We anticipate 1,000 questions. I suspect for 900 of them, we will collect the questions and provide answers when we get them. But the paper article last night was pretty good, although it aired in the very first paragraph by saying that we would, in fact, decide what we were going to do tonight. What we're going to do is talk about what we want to do tonight and see if we can put a price tag on that and put it on the warrant in February. Clear? There's no rules. It'd be nice if we took turns talking. Each of these two guys has some brief remarks to make, and then we'll just open it right up. Your remarks are brief, right?
Extremely.
I'm going to try. And for anybody who might not know, I'm Matt Saxton. We've been talking on the select board level and with you all through communications about the meeting we are having tonight since the selectmen's report and the last week's town report, and even before that, because this is a big issue. It's close to many people's hearts. We have a new player that we didn't have 40 years ago in this situation, which is the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, and they have their issues. And they have made what we've always done at Vilas Pool very difficult. We have not, in Alstead, writ large, been without fault in all of that, having crossed the rules egregiously just before I was elected selectman, I'm glad to say. And the DES fined the town $48,000 for over-dredging a permit. And that has now been completely paid. Part of that was going in annual installments to the, what I loosely call the river people. What's their actual name? Anyway, it's a group of volunteer people, including hydrologists and environmental people and so forth, who keep tabs on the cold river in Alstead and Akron and so forth. And anyway, so our fine partly funded their good work. I want to thank Serena for the Alstead Chronicles and drumming up support, getting as many people as possible to this meeting, and I'm very pleased with the turnout. We have more here tonight than we had for a budget hearing or the deliberative session for the town budget last year. And I guess it takes a issue that is close to people's hearts to get people really motivated. And I hope we hear all the stories tonight. Said in the paper that the selectmen do not have a preference. I actually do have a preference, which is for DES to keep their admits off Vilas Pool, but that's not real today. We can't do that way today. DES does exist. They have real issues which are important. However, we will now have to deal with that, and so whatever we do is going to be expensive, time-consuming, take a lot of time for volunteers, a lot of time for us, a lot of cooperation from DES, and we just are seeking to know what the town actually wants for the future of Vilas Pool among the several options. So thanks for coming, and I hope we had a great discussion.
All right. My version of brief. I'd like to thank Michael Gordon and Fitz tonight for helping us with the camera work, and I want everybody to know that the technology tonight has a limitation of an hour. Anything that's said after an hour will still make the minutes, but won't make YouTube.
Save the best for last.
I'd also like to thank Kitty and Brad Commish for the time and energy they put into Vilas Pool these few years and keeping the candle lit, as we say. And with that, let's get going. Who would like to talk first?
Remind me to plug that back in. Come on in. Write that down. I have a preference too, actually. I'd like to see that recreation area return to 100% functionality as it worked the day we received it. Just to kind of stimulate things, we've got a copy of the will from 1938, and it's got lots and lots of clauses that have to do with other towns and other projects, but Mr. Vilas left the town $75,000 in 1938 in trust to invest and reinvest the same blah, blah, blah. To pay over the net income therefrom semi-annually, net income, going to be important, to a committee appointed by the town of Alstead, which no longer exists. We could leave here tonight changing that. Such income to be applied to maintain the pool and buildings on the property above devised and to employ necessary caretakers, labor, and music in connection therewith. Pretty nice. $75,000 in 1938. Bruce Bellows is the trustee of trust funds, but not this one. Is that right?
I have nothing to do with that.
So that's probably going to be good because this one's doing better than the ones you managed. This fund is kept at the People's United Bank. We called them up. They gave us an instant readout. The beginning market value on July 31st, 2011, can you believe this, was over $571,000. Unbelievable. They make 6.24% this year. Pretty good stuff. So financially, we have a resource that we're responsible for. I think it's a tool that we can use in part to get from A to B to C to D. Where do we want to go with that? Who wants to speak?
What's the annual income?
This year, we took $29,094, and the fund grew by $16,320. Your actual mileage reserve.
Well, that was enough to pay for the roofing job then.
Almost.
Well, we had usage. This is some, some of the high points here. Total expendable accumulated interest on December 31st, 2011 was $125,484. That is the income from several years accumulated that had not been spent. The pavilion roof and the pavilion chimney done this year, we spent $60,278 on to do that. The expendable funds remaining as of today is $80,161. The annual staff and program expense, last year it was $10,755. That's Brad and Kitty and the animals and all the good stuff they do there. And you missed Brad and Kitty. The great thanks to Selectman offered you for the dealing with Vilas Pool and keeping the lights on, as Mike said. It said just before you walk in the building. Anyway, and for this year, we have also granted a contract for the electrical work up there for $6,750. That work has not been done, and that money has not yet been spent.
What is the role of the Department of Environmental Services and the town of Alstead in all of the decisions being made tonight?
The Department of Environmental Services controls all the water in the state, all the public water. They are responsible to protect it and to make sure it's there in at least as good quality or better for future generations. That, I believe, is ultimately what they do, I think.
That's their role, and then all the expenses are borne by the town.
Yeah, and they come in from the dam department and say, we see a crack here, you must monitor that, you must cut these trees, you must do, yeah, that's all at our expense.
Yep, Mr. Carver?
Yeah, Joe Carter from Alstead Center Road. I'm in favor of keeping the Vilas Pool as is. I'd like to know what is our annual expense and what would be an expense to comply with DES, and what we got to do to satisfy the recent requirements by that. I can do it if you like. Go ahead. Okay.
So we got the letter of deficiency, and if you go by Vilas Pool now, you'll see a lot of ribbons on a lot of trees. Those are trees that we walked around with the Department of Environmental Protection, Environmental Services, along with our hydrologists. Those are the trees they want us to cut. Those trees alone are a lot of money. Right now we've got RFP, a request for proposal, out for hydrology reports, which we need. We need new hydrology reports because our old ones aren't good enough, both for the Vilas Dam and for the Lake Warren Dam. We have letters of deficiency on both of those dams. We also have another RFP out for a minimum environmental impact deal, which is basically some engineer telling us how we can best get to the gate, excavate, get to the gate, fix the gate, and then clean the mess that we've made up getting to the gate. And that's more thousands of dollars. I mean, each one of these is potentially $10,000 plus. And not to mention the actual act of doing what the permit says that we can do. So that's the real issue we got now is so when you ask, well, what are we going to do? I don't know, what are we going to do? That's the real question. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion lies. Because there's a lot of things we can do. We can fix it, we can dredge it, and then we can relegate ourselves to trying to figure out a way to maintain it for I don't know how many years. I don't know if DES is going to get any easier to deal with over the years. What we're looking for is a dredge permit that we can use over and over and over again and get some permission to just keep it maintained like we always used to. There is the thing that got everybody really upset was the state said, well, there's a lot of communities that are just deciding to remove the dam. Well, that's one of the options too. Remove the dam and then you don't have to worry about that anymore, do you? Well, if that's not what you want to happen, then we got to talk about that too. But there's a lot of options. The one option that does not exist is just say the heck with it, leave it. That option isn't an option. We have to do something. And right now what we've been trying to do, quite honestly, point blank, is as little as possible and still keeping DES happy. We're hoping that someday maybe that'll just, I don't know, go away.
Well, you didn't answer my question. What was it going to cost to satisfy
We
the
have
needs?
absolutely no idea. Can't even begin to tell you. It's not, to say that would be completely dishonest. The first thing we need is a hydrology report. And then we got to pay somebody thousands of dollars to come up with two different options. The preference would be to pay someone thousands of dollars to come up with one option that we all can agree on. We've got ideas on how it might be done, not the least of which was come up by Joel McCarty, which I thought was pretty darn brilliant, up by the mill hollow, the mill itself. You can see it's got that bypass culvert, and we got one under Fin Hill. Why couldn't we put one of those through the driveway? I don't know. But the DES, it's not like you can call them up and say, hey, will this work for you? It doesn't work that way. They got to have a plan, they got to review it, then they got to tell you why it's wrong, then you have to redo it, then you can do it right.
You spent, they fined the town $48,000 before, right?
Mm-hmm.
For dredging, which is what?
For over-dredging.
Yeah, you had to do dredging because the river builds up sediment, so you had to do some dredging, right?
That's right.
So can you go back to the DEA and tell them, look, give us some of this money back to afford the stuff we want to do?
I appoint you. You could do that, but
you could go on the offense and say, look, you screwed this up before, don't do it again.
yeah. My experience with them probably says that wouldn't work at all.
Oh.
But I appreciate the thought.
Dredging permits. Why can't we go, if we know we're going to need 30,000 cubic feet, why can't we get a permit for 60,000 cubic feet? We cover ourselves.
No, nothing says that we can't do that.
It's 20 cents.
Well, it's 25 cents per square foot.
20 per square foot.
Okay, so the surface area of the water, and then it's still the hydrology report, and it's still somebody coming up with the dredging plan.
Every time you dredge, you got to do a hydrology report?
Well, we're hoping not. I mean, we just had a report that's, you said 10 years, I think it was only 7 years, but it's 10 years old, and that wasn't good enough for them.
Well, to be fair, and I will not take their position in defense, to be fair, quite a bit of the stream characteristics changed in this town after 2005. So while I resent spending the money, it looks like it's going to be $9,000 to do this study. I actually think it makes sense. And if there's any community in the state that's sort of alert to issues of downstream safety, it would be this one. So I think that's a done deal. There's a fairly hard number. Now, let's talk about the proposal process. We put these things out through the statewide network, so we're not just dealing with a couple local woodchucks. What we want is a full-on relationship with a professional engineering firm that has all the licenses and all the insurances, so that when we decide as a community what we want to do, we can price that option and not have to guess like we're doing right now about, were we talking $100,000? Are we talking $200,000? We just don't have enough information at this juncture to answer that question. Ma'am?
Yes, I was wondering.
Oh, you're the state. We can blame you for this. I'm sorry, that's really
I
cheap.
wish I had control.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I wish you had control. I'm sorry.
my question is, so we can only use the interest in cases like this, you can never use any of the principal?
That's what the terms of the will say. Now, I'm not adverse to paying some money for a little legal advice and saying, look, we have something that's beginning to look like an emergency here. Do we have any options whatsoever?
Right.
The library did that how many years ago? There was a term in the will that built the library that said you will only invest in railroad stocks, and that was a great idea for how long, Bruce?
About 75 years.
And then it was a terrible idea. And there was this thing in the will. Do you have any information about how they got out from under that? Mary Lou thinks she does.
Yeah, we went to court. We had to go to court and get a court ruling.
And how much did that cost? Do you remember?
A bit. I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
That was back in the
you know,
80s.
there's an avenue of exploration that I don't think is going to cost us a
I
fortune.
think that should be checked into, to see, because, what good is it to keep growing it if you can't, it'll end up being torn out or something. I mean, you know, that fund can't go into getting it so we can keep it.
It's just the terms of the will. I mean, we
Right.
all, you know, most of us have wills, and we don't want them second guessed by some appointed jurist 85 years later. We could short circuit this conversation. I haven't met anybody in town who thinks that taking that dam out is what they want. Is there anybody in this room who thinks that?
Take it out? No.
There's a hand up there.
Yeah. What is this hydrology report? Explain to me, I don't know what that is.
How much water goes through that channel at different times of the year?
Does it have anything to do with the dam?
Sure. How much of that goes over the top of the dam, and how much of it would go through another structure, either A, the repaired main structure, or B, some kind of bypass structure? And their goal is really to provide the foundation of data for all the rest of the design work. So it's really got to be done. We're going to pay for it. Nobody else is going to pay for it. If we don't do it in 2.5 or 3.5 years, DES will hire somebody to do it and send us the bill. No, that's the stick they've got. Whether you agree with that or not, it's pretty effective. This town got reassessed that way once too. This quarter, as we had her hand up.
Yeah, a couple things. First, I'd like to see the dam, of course, stay, and put the money towards that. I understand Sam Sutcliffe and a few other people, engineers from Charlestown, have looked at the blueprints of the dam, and they feel that it actually is well built. The outside does need some repair. Then my second thing is, whatever happens to the Vilas School Committee, and how come we don't have one? And I think I would highly recommend that we put a Vilas School Committee back in place, a team of people that are working on this all the time, so that we can move forward a little quicker. Not saying that, you know, anybody, no name blame or nothing, but I really do think that there should be a committee that works with you guys on this.
It's well documented in the selectmen's minutes that we agree with you.
And we could leave here tonight with a committee in place.
I think what happened before was the committee was a lifetime appointment, and everybody got wicked old and didn't meet anymore.
I see by looking at my names.
On that committee, aren't they?
So anyway,
Next witness, Your Honor.
Like in 1999, it kind of went across, because that's the last thing in the annual report, was
Yeah.
1999.
yeah, well, the selectmen sort of filled a vacuum on that point, and Irwin was probably on it too.
I think the only two that was on the committee today is you and myself.
And Steve was on,
Oh, you
Julie Pelletier was
Oh, I
on.
think Steve was too.
Yeah, I've talked to quite a
In
few
the
people.
Yeah,
beginning, I don't
Steve
know.
was in on the redoing of the dam when they used to clean the thing out, the
You're
square
talking
box.
this way.
In the fire department used to go up there, was it once or twice a year with that big pole? And they would open it up
Yeah,
and
you
clean
did
it
hook
out.
onto it. That's when they had the railroad tie.
Correct.
Then when Carmen cleaned it out and blew a little hole in it, cracked the dam, then they had to resurface,
Right.
get back and put in a new gate system.
Well, what I'm saying is I basically think for the census, for most people in town, they want to keep the dam and do what is gonna have to be done to keep the dam there and get it fixed. And so that we could get Vilas Pool back to what it should be.
We should also point out that the crow's nest, the high dive, and diving board all went the way of the insurance company, one at a time over the years. So, you
No,
know.
that was because it's a buildup.
No.
Well, that's right, because.
They said the crow's nest would never come back and neither would buy one of the.
But see, every high water, there's risk of something sharp and pointed washing down into what we call Vilas Pool, which is
We
why.
probably shouldn't be giving each other legal advice or insurance advice. Let's see if we can put this committee back together.
The committee was formed because to take the pressure off the selectmen.
We like that.
That's why they done that, and they appointed the committee. And the committee looked after the pool. If there's any question, they report to the selectmen. They had nothing to do with it, they didn't want to do with it.
If I read this will correctly, the committee is appointed by the town. It doesn't say by the selectmen or the fire department, so we can probably do whatever we want. The key here is it says that the money is administered by the committee, not by the selectmen. I think that's wonderful.
Oh, I think that we should all.
I think it's wonderful. Because then it's just a question of the quality of our reporting to each other as a town. Right?
Right.
All we gotta do is tell the truth and put it in the town report every year and we're good to go.
That was a
I
good
think
place.
by getting a committee together, this committee can also work. There's a lot of people that are willing to do work, that are willing to volunteer, and a committee can get this stuff going. There's a lot of stuff up there that can be done by a committee, by volunteers. And I know that there are a lot of people that are willing to do it.
Do you feel like I'm holding you back from joining that committee?
No, but there is no committee, so I'm suggesting that we start one.
Well, there's a paper and a pen on that blue table, right
I
next
will
to
be
you.
on.
And anyone who feels so, put your name on
I'll still stay on.
it. There you go, you never left. That's what I hear.
What about the committee getting local people just to cut down, volunteer to cut down the trees?
No way.
I have no objection to any of that. I think that tonight's activity should be to figure out who's gonna meet when on that committee. And I don't care whether you do it in the parking lot or what, but I think we should treat it like we do everything else with minutes, post it on the internet, find yourself a chairperson, one or two, figure out a regular meeting schedule, a predictable meeting schedule like the third Wednesday of the month for a while, and let's get going. We'll continue to provide technical support about the financial resources and about our communications with the mean people over at DES. I think all we have to do to keep them from going crazy with subpoenas and lawsuits is to keep showing some kind of progress and intent. Even though if you read the original documents that they sent us, they're kind of terrifying because it's all about you shall by this date.
Or $2,000 a day.
And the fines are horrendous, but it turns out once you pick up the phone, they're hip to the fact that we have a fiscal year and they could require us to spend $250,000 on something this year, but it wouldn't make sense.
They still house potential. When I was young, I was lifeguard for 4 years at the pool. It was a hell of a good job. I went down to
I
Queen
did
State on the
2 years at the
certification.
pool, I lived there with kids.
There you go.
Took care of it. No, could we make money on the trees they're taking down, could we sell those trees?
Highly doubtful, highly doubtful. It's taken us a lot of work just to find someone. Did we ever find, other than the local? We've yet to find anybody who's willing to take the job
Why
on.
don't you check with that person that comes up and down High Road, 2 or 3 trucks?
I knew you were gonna get judged. I knew you were gonna get judged by me. I was in here somehow.
If you call them,
It would be the same.
What makes the trees difficult is that 2 of them are enormous. You can't get a bucket truck near them because of all the wires and the telephone poles. And there's no place to drop them. So it's complicated. It's about as complicated as treating
all the problems
yeah.
over there.
And I'm still willing to argue the fact that they don't have to come down and all
Well, I
But your opinion means nothing in this process.
Nothing.
Even their choice to
Let's be clear. It actually doesn't matter what anybody in this room thinks about the work. It has to be designed and signed and stamped by a licensed engineer, or it's not going to happen.
That they approve of.
And we're going to play by their rules, or they're going to come in and do the work their way. Yes, ma'am.
Can you get a list from
them of people that they didn't?
We have it. We have it. We send all that out to all of them.
We send each,
And they're the ones who,
yeah.
boy, you're just running in circles all this.
Not anymore, we got this meeting going, and there's gonna be a committee after this is over. I think we could, if you'll allow me to run a little roughshod over the democratic process, why don't we just say that the Vilas School Committee meets on the first Wednesday of the month?
Get the committee to work.
And that your first meeting will be the first Wednesday in October, that you meet in the basement of the municipal building, and at that point you'll find some way to identify a chair and someone to take the minutes.
You got it.
Let's do it.
And then
First Wednesday?
first Wednesday of October, and meeting monthly thereafter. This is a proposal. This is not me ruining your lives. We will make it our business to communicate with everyone who puts their name on that piece of paper and remind them when and where. So give us a phone number or an email address or both. And we will do the legwork to make sure you don't forget.
The first time.
And so, I just want to be clear, so if, it's decided that the committee decides that the dam, you know, the dam stays and the work gets done to the dam. So then what, the first thing that has to happen is you hire in, what you were saying, the hydrologist,
We're hiring the hydrologist regardless,
regardless.
because we have to have those numbers.
In order to
No matter
get
what we
these-
do. If we rip the dam out, we still need those numbers. Have to have the numbers,
Okay.
because that's the only way they're gonna use those numbers to create their plan, whichever plan they take.
Plus, we also have to have an emergency evacuation plan that can't be finished without those numbers.
It's true. We have a emergency action plan for each dam that Jack's been working on for a long time. Of course, it changed dramatically after 2005. And in order to, then that's another regulatory, we have to file that. It doesn't have anything to do with the Vilas Committee. That plan has to exist and be filed and updated annually, I believe. There's some huge fine if we don't. And that report requires flow diagrams of acceptable newness. So we're going to do that, whatever the committee decides. I think what's going to happen with this group is that you're going to get a lot of public interest on the front end. We're going to discover that we all actually want almost exactly the same thing, and then it's going to be time to put a price tag on it. Because if you want more than whatever's available there, if we want more than whatever's available there to do exactly what we want to do, we got to come back to the whole town through the budget process and petition for that money to be raised and appropriated, because that's how it works in New Hampshire, and that's how it ought to work all over the world.
But it also could be, excuse me, done, you said, by seeing if we could change the trust, is whether that would be a way to possibly.
We will make that our business, and we'll certainly have something to report on the first Wednesday of October, even if it's just, well, I've studied this and I think maybe.
But the thing to keep in mind is, and the committee's gonna work on this, is you tap into that money and you run out of money, now it's all taxpayers' money. And now from now on, everything you do has to go to the taxpayers.
And I don't think that's bad.
I don't think it's
I
bad,
don't think it's bad,
but it's something to think about. Because we've all been to the warrant meetings, and we know we got a lot of money we need to spend. We got a lot of things to work on, so really think about all the options. Determining, yes, we want to keep the dams great, but you still want to keep your mind open to all options, because you always want to be able to tell people about that too.
Has anybody looked into, going through the, historical preservation?
Yeah, we have asked, everybody we could think to ask, is there money in the world that is not ours that could come in and fix our dam for us? And the answer is a flat no. And we were told that if you want to take the dam out, there probably is money to be found to do that.
But I was told there isn't any, we do not pay any right now.
More recently, that source of funds for dam removal, which nobody in this room cares to hear anymore about, dried up. And that's okay.
Is there any involvement with this Cold River project that had an office in Walpole that was going to operate and do something on the Cold River? Is that completely disbanded, or should that be involved in this?
No, they're still around. They think of themselves, I think this is fair to say, as advisory. They're primarily environmentally focused. They don't have any money. you don't have any money that they didn't get from us, right?
That's right.
The fine that we paid to the Department of Environmental Services went to fund that organization.
And not only that organization, it didn't have created that, it also went to another organization that gave part of it, the other organization.
Well, we didn't give it, it was taken.
Right.
Let's be clear about that.
Gary, the question is, if you get to the point where the pool has been dredged and DES approves it for swimming, who thinks that there are going to be a lot of kids running over there to go swimming in the summertime? There's a lot of expense involved in operating it as a town swimming hole. Those are considerations, I believe.
All you have to do is go to Lake Warren on a hot summer day and see how many kids are there swimming.
Or in the
And how many
river.
people we generate?
In the river.
There's signs up at Lake Warren not to swim, but on any given day, you'll see 20, 30 kids there swimming.
You don't have to live here very long before you figure out there's still some resentment in town, especially on the east end, that there's no public beach. Pardon? Like Lake Warren.
Lake Warren Public Beach.
You know, and I'm one of those people who thinks, boy, that's a bad deal. This would be part of the remedy, and historically was the remedy. Right,
Most of the people are swimming at the boat landing.
Yeah, where they're not supposed to.
That's right.
That's right.
The boat landing is not a swimming hole. So if you look around, there isn't many places in the area for people to swim.
With Surrey being closed as much of the summer as it was, with it being hot the way it was, we had a lot of people that wanted to swim, and they were mad when we told them there was no swimming.
But remember, that might not like that attached either.
I've gone by the pool many times and saw people swimming there.
Yes.
So, they were swimming there.
Yeah, there's a new voice.
Yeah,
How many years has it been since you could swim there?
at least 5.
No.
I looked it up, it was 96 was the last swimming, it said in
Oh,
one
it's
of
not
the
that long.
annual reports.
I remember paying lifeguards. Kitty, do you know the answer to this? When did we last have swimming?
It's been 5 years.
We were paying lifeguards within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm quite certain of that.
Is it we can't get lifeguards, or you say that at the time wasn't we can't afford?
No, we can't swim there.
Right, before we get to that, I want to get to that, but I want to hear from Maggie first. What do you have to say?
I was just going to say, how long has it been since we've had Vilas Pool reports in the town report? And
Well,
why
those were
don't
written by the Vilas Pool Committee, and when we did not have the Vilas Pool Committee anymore, we always mentioned the Vilas Pool and what's going on at Vilas Pool in the Selectmen's report.
Well, I did have another question too. Maybe you could clear up the $48,000.
Yeah.
Was it all from our unreserved fund balance that we paid on the fine?
It came out of the general fund. It came out over 5 years, $7,500 a year to the River People LLC.
No, it wasn't LLC that got that.
Whoever got
Well,
it.
whoever got it, but anyway.
Came out of fund balance.
I just noticed in the town report, it said 28,000 was paid in the year 2000, the financial statement.
Well, it was broken up. I mean, there was a fine and then there was these payments. It
So
was
much
combined.
a year, 4,800.
Combined, it made $48,000.
That wasn't clear in the town report.
Well, I'm sorry.
It wasn't mentioned.
But anyway, so at this point in the meeting, I'm going to be daring and bring up another option just so we can say we discussed it.
I'm gonna stand way over here.
Anyway, we have established that keeping Vilas Pool as a swimming area needs considerable work on the dam, it needs considerable work in dredging, and it's all going to be expensive, and DES is having an opinion about every step of the way. When we had swimming, we all remember that we couldn't swim sometimes because of coliform in the water. Right? You remember that? And we remember when high water comes and the water's muddy, we weren't swimming. And so at sometimes, even when we had swimming at Vilas Pool, there were issues with it. I remember when I was taking lifeguard training in 1973 in the evenings in June, and the last thing we had to do was swim from the grassy area across the pond and back again It was so cold, I couldn't. Anyway, and I didn't have the thought that I could sit in a chair and be a lifeguard anyway, so I quit. But anyway, so the water can also be very cold. Now, inasmuch as all that's true, and inasmuch as the expense to keep Vilas Pool, as we've all known it as a swimming area, open as a swimming area, as far as the eye can see every year, something. Will it ever make sense, if it doesn't make sense now, to take the money we spend on that and build a modern municipal pool in the field behind the pavilion? Which will always be swimmable, it will always be clean, it will always be safe, it will always be all that stuff, like Walpole did a number of years ago. It is not the same, I admit, it is not the same. But if we are
Efficient, but not very successful.
But if we are thinking about the future of swimming at Vilas Pool, based only on our idea of what swimming was at Vilas Pool, and we've already established tonight that that's not coming back, because we don't have the crow's nest, we don't have the high dive, we don't have the other diving boards, we have the other issues with water, we have the issues with leeches, and DES, and river people, and environmentalists, and people wanting to take the dam out, and all that kind of stuff. I just want to plant that seed, let's say, for the future. Will it ever make sense to do something more modern, which the young people who are now will remember someday?
But that also is very expensive, and so
It's
that,
all
what I'm not talking
Yeah.
before, and I understand.
It's all expensive, that's
My
the only reason I bring it up,
understanding
because it's 6 of
finding that very expensive and actually thinking about doing away with them.
We haven't heard from you.
I think that the committee really needs to look at that idea, because they can still fish and boat in the pool. And they can have a safe place to swim, where it's easy to use a lifeguard to watch the kids and do lessons,
And
like Charlestown and
I don't think
Walpole.
it's gonna be near as much work as trying to put a price on this other activity.
And where the water is not gonna be constantly monitored by the people who control the rivers and tell you that you can't have swimming because your E. coli is too high. I mean, we can go through all this work to get the swimming back, but if the state comes through and they say your E. coli is too high, you still can't swim in that. So a pool
It's a
might
great
make
discussion to
sense.
have, and wouldn't be my first choice by a long shot. That's probably the sense of the meeting. Ma'am?
My question is, so, Matt, you suggested a pool facility. What, if Vilas isn't the best solution, is there ever a possibility of getting a piece for the town on Lake Warren?
Not unless someone donates it. There's a committee forming right now that's working on a plan to bring public swimming to Lake Warren. I'm not gonna tell you I know what the plan is, because I've only heard what the plan is, and it's the same thing. I've lived pretty close to one of the members of that committee for a little while anyway, as long as she can stand to be on it, my wife. She hasn't gone to a single meeting yet. And it's already caused a little bit of turmoil in my house. Because I know what the plan is. But the long story short is, not right now, not unless someone, and there are several someones on that lake, say here. Because the retail value of that property, almost any of it, is really just simply out of our reach. And again, we still have the same problems with DES and the rest of it. We're still going to have, how much of a beach can you really have? How much of this can you have that close to the water? How much parking? How's the parking? How do you run the training? The men's rooms, the women's rooms, and the blah, 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 blah. It doesn't stop. It never stops. So the reality of it is Vilas is the best option. And the committee is going to be in a position that they have preferences, but they're going to be in the same position as selectmen. Your preferences are important and need to be moved forward, but we have a certain responsibility on that committee to look at everything. Because people will ask you, did you think about this? And your answer needs to be, yeah, we did actually. But that's the responsibility of that type of committee.
Well, if you opted to tear down the pool, wouldn't that amount to the same amount of money you got left in there to hopefully save the pool?
Well,
I mean,
we have no idea about that. The only positive to ripping down the pool is that theoretically after that, there's no more maintenance. There's really nothing else to talk about. At some point, it's 5 years, it's a 5-year waiting period. If we rip the pool on, it's 5 years after that.
You mean the dam?
Yeah, the dam, excuse me.
Well, yeah, we have to wait 5 years for
Right.
the.
They wait 5 years and they see what indigenous species come to roost and the rest of that, and they deal with that. But then after that, theoretically, it becomes a stream, and that's the end of it. If you save it as a swimming hole, and we can't get a perpetual dredging permit, then every so many years, we're going to be looking at getting a dredging permit and doing everything we can to try to dredge it again and maintain it as a proper swimming hole according to the regulations that are in place at the time. I find it hard to believe that they're going to get any less restrictive than they are now.
Well, the DES was involved when you first got fined, right?
Mm-hmm.
12 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So I would think all their particulars would be very familiar to you. I mean, this is like a new thing, we're gonna lose the pool, but they were, you know.
The fine was just for simply over judging. That's as black and white, and that's it right there. It doesn't go any. It
But I
doesn't.
mean, you've been working with the DES for 12 years?
Not really, no. I mean, we've only started working with them again after after we got the letter of deficiency. And
One of the
working
problems
with
that was mentioned in the article in last night's paper was that the personnel at DES is constantly changing. So every time I've been over, that's the first thing I was asked to do as collector. Jim O'Brien said, "You're the point man in Concord on the DES fine for Vilas Pool." So I went over there with the lawyer and so forth and so on. Told the story all over again. 3 years later, that woman's not there anymore. Now somebody else has to start over again. I'll start all over from square one. Then we started all over again in 2005 with a different person. And we were formulating a plan for getting a renewable dredging permit going to building a permanent ramp into the pool so that we could drive a piece of equipment into the dam, behind the dam, to get at the gate for any maintenance it ever required. We were sort of almost there, and then we had our flood. And then we stopped thinking about Vilas Pool, and we started thinking about other things. And then personnel changed at DES all over again. And we just met with them in May and had new crop of people, and we told our story all over again. So no, the fact that we've been dealing with DES for 12 years has not made a difference in terms of institutional knowledge or anything. I mean, we are fresh faces with fresh faces.
Okay, let's say we didn't decide to make a swimming pool then. Right now, what is the main problem that needs to be fixed with the dam?
We have to open the gate, which is covered by 10 feet of silt,
So
which may be mixed with logs or not.
Okay, so regardless of whether or not, dredging, all of that stuff, you're still gonna have to dredge in front or behind the dam to get all of that stuff out.
Do you have to get a permit to do that?
Yes. Oh boy, do you. And just finding that permit is.
It's $250 for minimum impact one, but he's gonna have to, whoever we hire to do that, has to tell them how they're gonna do it, what we're gonna build out. That doesn't include doing the job.
Right. Yeah, we have to absolutely get a permit and adhere to it strictly.
There's the permit, then there's the engineering of what the job is going to entail to open the gate, and then there's the doing of the work.
That's right.
Yes, is the option of tearing up the dam viable according to the trust and his will?
I don't give legal advice. I'd be happy to share this with you. Basically, it says it's all positive. It's none of this negative. There's no provision here for how many people are on the committee. No provision here about what to do when the money runs out. No provision on what to do should the dam be swept away by a natural disaster. It just says, here's this money. Here's how I want you to spend.
Yeah, a few minutes ago, we were talking about boating and fishing in Vilas Pool and swimming behind the pavilion in a swimming pool. That's still a possibility. We have a permanent solution like that. We were talking about it in 2005. To keep the gate open on a regular basis, David was very good at opening the gate in the spring, letting everything flush out, closing the gate, opening it again in the fall. Remember, we did not used to let that hold water over winter. and we can get back into that. And then there's just a crack in the dam that needs monitoring. We're talking about cutting down these trees, which they're worried about falling into the downstream part of the dam and blocking the flow so that water goes on over Route 123A, which they really don't like that. But, you know, the dam could stay and be operable. I mean, what did us in was the flood. I mean, this is still repercussions of the flood. And, you know, if we can get back to where we were before the flood in terms of the opening and closing of the dam, or the gate in the dam, and making the maintenance, that we could do. So we still have the coliform and the cold and the mud and all that stuff.
And we can't open the gate now?
No, sir.
Why?
Because it's underneath muck. It's buried underneath 10 feet of muck.
Can I give it a try? I'll tell you, I worked up the pool, and I had some good help that helped me. We rebuilt the farm boat. The first year they let it go over afterwards. We opened that gate many times and let water come through and wash the bottom out. So instead of going in there with a bulldozer to dig it all out, let the water take it down through.
Nothing would make me happier than to go up with you and do that. But I said nothing would make me happier than to go up there and do that with you. But if we did that, somebody's going to see it, and we'll both be in jail. You look like good company, though.
You mean it's all right to open the gate?
Darn straight. That's right.
No, we have every right to open the gate. We physically can't do it right now. You remember how that works. It's a long pole with a square end. It goes into a square hole at the gate. So have I. And that square hole is buried under 10 feet of sediment. We can't put the pole and connect with the hole that it goes into. So we can't physically do it without getting the muck off the top of the hole that we need to get the pole in.
Mr. Carver,
excuse me. I'm Chris Nelson, Ron Mouse's son-in-law. You're saying you can't reach it because it's under 10 feet of sediment?
Yeah.
You can't jet it?
That's what we have the RFP for. You want to file your ideas? We can let it happen.
The only reason I'm asking is, right now I'm down at the shore. My wife lives up here. I live down in Jersey. My wife lives right on Murphy Hill. Okay? Down at the shore, we deal just as much with the EPA and everything, just Department of Engineering, all that, for bulkheading. We jet everything to get the bulkheading done in, put in. That's the only reason I'm asking, you know, wouldn't you be able to reach the lock that way? You're taking a pipe with this round.
Yeah.
All you're going to do is make a hole large
Round
enough.
you can get the rod in it.
Right.
I understand that. I still don't think that we would be allowed to just open the gate at this time because of the stuff. It's not been built up. It's going to be dumped into that river below.
But if it's getting up and slow, a lot of that stuff's not going to get past it.
Well, right now we have no water flow at all.
Right. But you understand.
I understand the theory. I mean,
just like with the trees that you said are too large to cut, nobody's willing to do them because there's power lines too close. Taking power lines down long enough to take it, is an option.
Well, when it comes to the trees, to be honest with you, I'm not in a big hurry to find somebody who's willing to take it.
No, I understand that. Either am I. I'm very much.
But you can do all that stuff. You're absolutely right. But I don't know if you could actually just open the dam now anyway. I wouldn't be allowed to.
Let me ask you a question, David. How much longer is over that?
With the
You
can step off the top of the dam right now, and I don't think you'll have any issues with that.
Because I remember the old system, man, they gave me $20 to dive down, hook.
Give you 50.
Pull it out.
$50.
And it's not just mud from the flood, they brought all kinds of roots and logs and stuff and pushed the drainage.
Can you get the rich on the left end?
speak now?
Yes.
It should, that should open up the
You
gate.
mentioned those whole troubles caused by the flood. Government is very good to us on the flood. Write him a letter and say, can we use your EPA exemption for a week so we can fix our problem that was caused by the flood back in 2005. Use his poll, you helped us out before, you can help us out again.
All those roads will work right now.
I just spoke to him 2 weeks ago, and I thanked him for all the help he gave my hometown. And his eyes started watering up, and he said Alstead felt like family to him, and that he wanted to come and visit again, possibly on the anniversary, which is coming up. And I said, do you know what that would mean to this town if we did such a thing? And he said, well, I would love to do that. Now, whether he can or is, I don't know. But what good timing when but his eyes watered up, I saw. He is a nice man.
He has a heart.
That's a great.
Okay, back to you again. Can we get a driver to go down and cut?
There's so much mud over the top of it, you can't get any of that stuff now. You can probably walk out there in front of that.
Water's only a foot deep.
25, 30 feet.
And if we make mud in the river, we're gonna get reported.
I think we have several avenues to explore. I'll make it a selectmen's business to make sure that Governor Lynch, while he's still the governor, gets we'll flower it out as best we're able, and then when we get here, we'll take it to the dam and show what the struggle is. At the same time, we'll try to confirm to our friends, our good friends at EDS, that we in fact are not allowed to open that gate because it's 7 now. We'll report that back to the committee as well. Maybe there's some really slick hometown bobtail or black powder solutions to getting that gate open. I'm for one and ready to try.
I want to ask Steve, because Steve and Mr. Owen in the 80s, 85, worked on that there. Maybe you can work.
Actually, there's a different gate in here, and actually that was a grant from the Land and Water Conservation. The gate is smaller than the gate you need.
I got one question. When was the first year that you couldn't open that gate? With the flood?
2005.
Did the flood come down that road?
Sure did. Oh, certainly did.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, high water.
It took
I don't think the flood actually, unless the flood came down from East Alstead and went back up over that dam.
I think you're mistaken.
We had rain, so I don't think they could do, you could chop that up to our flood.
I believe you are mistaken. It took out every single power pole and 1,700 feet of road.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So
On that road, but not yet. But anyway, no.
We were going to take turns. I remember saying that.
You see, we did have a committee one time, and the selectmen decided they wanted to run Vilas Pool themselves, so they disbanded the Vilas Pool committee, which I would recommend that one be set up.
Anybody else remember the history this way?
But I believe that the selectmen are at fault here for not making sure that, because I know there wasn't 10 feet of silt over the top of that dam whenever you couldn't get it open the first time, and effort should have been made to open it. As far as being able to open it legally, I'd like to see the RSA where it's changed that you cannot flush that pool every year. Because I believe the RSA says you're allowed to flush those pools that are dammed up. And I'd like to be quoted the RSA that says we can't.
If it was the flood,
Go ahead.
and FEMA was here, we didn't.
We're gonna look into that.
For help on that?
Yes.
Yes.
And they said, we got lots of money to take this dam out. We have a mitigation program. And they cheaped out on the repair of that stretch of road as well. We didn't want to take that. Neither did you, so we didn't accept how we didn't want, quite honestly. What they wouldn't offer us any engineering or administrative assistance. And frankly, there was a lot more important stuff going on in this town for those years anyway, and we had to focus. And I'm perfectly willing to accept some blame for ignoring that dam for a couple of years.
But I'd like to question the part that has a hole in it. Back when we had the committee, state committee inspected the dam. We got a beautiful booklet, I don't know if it's still around, of that inspection. Signed by a guy in California as the chief engineer. So, that book said we had a crack completely across the surface of that dam. I called Concord up, talked to the engineer out there that did the survey, and I said, I'm going to pay you something. Where do you get this crack across it? Oh, yeah. I said, you tell me what day you come down here, I'll drain the pool, and I'll show you a pour line on the dam. Really? I said, yeah. He did that. He came down, and he said, by God, you're right. That's the pour line. So I just questioned the crack that they're complaining is, or they're stating that in the dam that needs to be repaired at a very costly amount. And if there's no crack, there's no costly amount as far as I'm concerned. And bridging that dam is going to be a sin if we do that.
I agree with that part of it. Are there any other questions or comments, I hope?
Yeah.
There's one we haven't heard from Sam yet.
Sam, I'd like to correct one thing. It's been claimed that the New Haven Dam has less capacity than that which existed previously.
Sam.
Not true.
Speak up.
Speak up. The old drains to the dam were two 2-foot diameter tubes. The new drain is 3 feet by 3 feet. I will not try to challenge your arithmetic, but the new drain is about 50% larger in cross-sectional area than the preceding ones. Remember Pyatt?
Even when,
At
one point they just had logs in it.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands, according to the plan, there was constructed, there's a hole through the chamber through the dam, which is 6'8" by 88 inches, 7'4". And across the opening of that is an 8-foot by almost 7-foot, 1.25" thick stainless steel plate, which is anchored into the face of the dam. And that controls the gate mechanism, which has a 3-foot by 3-foot opening. It just has more capacity. Now, the actual capacity compared to a really big flood is infinitesimal. The flow, peak flow at the dam, according to USGS, the 05 flood was 9,500 cubic feet per second. That's regular water. I did a quick calculation that 3 by 3 foot drain might carry 300 cubic feet per second, which is a relatively small percentage of the flow. It's not a flood control dam. Total capacity of the impoundment, according to the original design specifications, was 1.3 million cubic feet. Probably somewhat different from that today because of sedimentation, changes in shoreline, and what have you. If you had an 05 flood at almost 10,000 cubic feet per second, and Vilas pool was dead empty, it would fill in about a little over 2 minutes. Now, as far as I can see, you have one principal problem. That is to be able to open the gate and properly remove the sediment. It's a big sedimentation basin. Nothing more, nothing less. To do that in this day and age, you must get a permit from the Department of Environmental Services. They are not boogeymen, they are not bad people, they are not evil, and they are not out to get us. But they are out to protect the quality of the water in the cold river. If you just open that thing up and let all that sediment go down, it's going to look like in Walpole. Can you imagine brown sludge going over Drewsville Gorge? And what will the fish think? They will not be terribly happy. No, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And as far as I can see, the first prerogative and requirement is be able to obtain the proper permit. You cannot just go out and open it up. You need to get a permit. That's what the law is all about. And the permit must be so that you do a reasonable job of properly protecting the environment while you are correcting the problems there. The Dam Bureau, yeah, I've run into some of the people in the Dam Bureau who are part of DES, and I think that they are some sort of baboons, but not all people there are that way. They were quite concerned about the safety.
On tape here, baboons.
Baboons, yeah, this would be really helpful.
How about mischievous baboons? As far as quality of water, I happen to be the chairman of the Cold River Local Advisory Committee, which soon we call the River People. So I'm part of the evil river people. Cold River is a designated river by the state of New Hampshire so that it gets particular protection from encroachment and misuse. We have no regulatory power whatsoever, simply advisory.
Sam?
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that particular attention that comes from the state to the declared river takes the form of regulation, not funding?
Of course. That's how the world works.
That's all right, just wanted to be clear.
That's nothing new.
No more deep pockets over there.
Well, one of the things that the state, they didn't say it would be a solution, they didn't say it was a solution, but their eyes did spark a little when you mentioned it, is taking a foot off the top. At one point they said, hey, but actually, I'm not agreeing with it, Sam, I'm just saying, you don't know this clearly. The dam.
If you want to look at the hydraulics of the Cold River and the Cold River Dam, what really happens? You're going to have the same amount of water that's going to come down that river whether there's a dam there or whether there's not a dam there. Right? That's an invariant. When you have an extreme flood, the dam probably acts as a restriction to flow, which causes a backwater. So that my friends from Langdon who are upstream are more likely to be affected by higher water levels back there.
It's gonna get awful deep if it's gonna affect us.
Sure is. But that is the effect. If you in some sense open up the floodgate or the drainage gate underneath for a big flow, it makes no difference whatsoever. DES, Dam Bureau, was particularly concerned initially about the safety of the dam against failure. They didn't want the big surge coming down the Cold River that came down Warren Brook when the embankment at Cooper Hill failed. And that's what caused the great thing. And those kinds of surges, they tend to level out as they go downstream. But the initial impact can be quite significant, as we all well know. Safety of that dam, it's 20 feet high, it's 20 feet wide at the base. And it's really a trapezoid. It's really more a trapezoidal weir than it is a dam. It's made out of cyclopean concrete. Cyclopean concrete, which has been used on some very large dams, such as the Roosevelt Dam out in the far west, which is a huge structure. It's essentially a concrete that uses very large coarse aggregate. They used to call it plum stone, so it gives you some idea of the size of the coarse aggregate that was used. It's a huge mass of concrete. It's anchored in the ledge on both sides. I have photographs of the gorge before the dam was built. Also, there are two pilasters on each edge of the dam which are anchored into the concrete. I don't think it's going to go anyplace. And I would hate to pay to have it removed, to be honest, because it would be an enormous job. That be as it may, we need to maintain it regularly. Period. There is no other solution than that. And I would concentrate on doing that first. Now, I have some ideas that might be investigated. It's like most dams of that sort, it has an inadequate spillway with respect to extreme flows. It just has that narrow, it's really a suppressed weir between the two until they get overtopped, which they did in 2005. And then the river finds its natural course, and it uses looking downstream. This concrete wall, which is to the left of the dam, that's where the water goes and heads right for 123A. One might investigate at least putting in really a secondary spillway there. Kind of the idea in the old days, probably the crest of that spillway would be below the crest of the dam. In the old days, they used to put flashboards in. Anybody remember that? Well, they've come a long way since then. And now they have mechanisms which can be controlled remotely, which will act as flashboards, can be moved out of the way if you have extreme flows. Whether that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, because all this water, which we're now impounding upstream, suddenly goes downstream. And that might not be a good idea. Without doing the engineering analysis, who can say? But a good engineer will consider all those alternatives. One more thing before I sit down and shut up. E. coli in the water. The Cold River Local Advisory Committee has been testing the water of the Cold River for 10 years now. And among those results, we have had bacteriological analysis done by the state. And there are spikes in E. coli from time to time, typically after a heavy rain. The rest of the time, it's usually just damage. All that data is available to be used by this committee. We have dissolved oxygen, pH, temperature, you name it, we got it. We have a significant database over a period of time that could be very useful in the analysis of the quality of the water. I do worry about turbidity. If you use things for swimming, some states have rules with respect to maximum turbidity. I could not find one for New Hampshire. But typically a certain particular size of a white plywood, a certain distance down in the water. If you can't see it from the surface, you can't swim there. Which says, if somebody's drowning is down there and I can't see them, I can't pull them out. That's perfectly reasonable. Now the state has no rules, but the insurance company's not. If you open it for swimming again, you can have to insure it in particular ways. Staff it with lifeguards. There are a lot of issues that are around this, and none of these are going to be solved tonight by one very happy evening. But that's as much information as I have about the Cold River. I'm looking at it. I am a retired civil engineer, so hydraulics was never my specialty, but I still remember a little bit of it.
Barely civil. Any questions for Sam? He's been working on this for a while at our request as a volunteer.
I didn't think about it.
Not enjoying some of the assignments as much as others. But it's been
Well, I might
helpful.
want to say a thing about the dredging thing. The permit that was submitted to DES back in whatever year it was to dredge 8,000 square feet. And that was approved by DES. The town dredged 80,000 square feet. I think a zero got left off somewhere. And if I have any fault for DES, they should have picked up on that. They should have said, hey, you guys, you shouldn't be doing this. And they said, no, you're going to pay us a fine. I didn't like that at all, and I still don't. I thought it was unconscionable. But that's...
We're over the dam.
Question?
Just was going to ask, are you going to be part of the committee?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
From a distance.
Will you come and visit us?
Yeah.
I would be glad to be liaison from the local advisory committee.
Perfect.
But I would not be a member. Unfortunately, I'm getting to that age where driving at night is extraordinarily difficult.
Marcello will pick you up.
You have a big house.
Cataracts aren't so bad that Medicare will pay for it. I have to wait until I really can't see. Then Medicare will cover it.
Thank you, Sam. You were next. Oh, good. Yes?
Just one of the recommendations that the state made back years ago when they did their last audit, or whatever you want to call it, was that the gate be left open. in the winter. That way, there is no sludge. The reason there's sludge is because we have the gate closed. When you get the high water, it brings it down and settles in the pool. Through an old warrior here in town, we had arranged for the Corps of Engineers from the National Guard were going to come and do the dredging 1 year. All we had to pay was their gas and allow them to bivouac up in the field. Unfortunately, the governor wanted fire ponds built when spring came, so it wasn't done. But the year before, the engineers had come down and they said, what you have here, when they examined the base, is a layer of sludge, a layer of gravel, a layer of sludge, and a layer of gravel. Every single year, it changes. So if you went down, and at that time, we still had 8 feet in front of the dam down to those original tubes that were there for the draining. That got blown up. Right on. None of that.
I took the ride.
None of that. Because they were plugged and we had a gentleman decide, I dynamite that stuff. And we thought the dam was going that way. But anyway,
You get all this on tape, I hope.
there was 8 feet of mud then down to those pipes. But you don't have to let all the water go in one day. You can open that gate that way and close it. If you're worried about putting too much water, too much stuff down the river. Years ago, we had to worry about Mr. Whitcomb, because that was where he used to wash his gravel, was in the river, and he'd get quite upset if he didn't get notification that we were going to do it. But you don't have to let all that water go in one day. You can let it go, bring it, close it, 24, 48 hours later, bring it back up. Let it, not all the way, highway.
Stan Commits, you got anything to add? Make this better? You've been right there a long time.
I'm listening.
Got any advice to offer?
Not yet.
That's it?
Not yet.
Give me some legal advice like everybody else?
No.
It's 8:15 there. There's a question.
Yes. I can see the town getting sued in pretty good shape. We've got a dam up there, there's no cable across it. Or there wasn't, unless they did it today or something. If somebody comes down that river in a small boat and goes over and lands down there and dead, who's going to be responsible?
Never occurred to me in a million years to worry about that.
Well, there's always been one cable across there ever since I was in the first 4 grades of school. And now there ain't nothing there. There's nothing that you can catch hold of to stop it. Right now, you go up there in a boat and let it come down through, I'll guarantee you're going to be down in the bottom.
Suppose that's something we can fix without a permit?
Well, I don't know why.
Don't ask, don't tell?
Well, we always had a cable across there, and we always opened the gate when we wanted to.
Well, the purpose of this meeting is to make sure those happy days return. Mr. Ward!
Well, he is right though, that when I was lifeguard there, they had a chain went across 2 of them until someone stole them. Never been put back except a little cable. There's nothing there now.
How long ago does anybody remember that cable being there? Just guess.
Well, you look back when I was house chairman up on the pool.
You mean the chain?
We put it up every year.
I'm sorry.
The chain.
Cable, chain. Who can remember the last year it was there? Can you put a number on it?
No, I can't.
We put it up just about every summer for the boating, and then we take it down at the end of the summer because a tree or log would come through and get caught on it and take it out.
So the program still exists, kind of. But we didn't put it up this year. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Can we promise ourselves that we'll put it up next year?
It should be kept up there year round.
Year round? Is that the rule? Makes sense to me.
It'll just get taken out. A log or something will come down through and take it out.
Any other comments, questions, or opinions about cable, chain, water, money?
I
I say a cable will be harder to cut.
Yeah. We can electrify it.
Good.
What deadlines do you have from the DDS on all of this?
I think we've got some paper deadlines that we are, my belief, and I think this is widely shared by our legal counsel as well, is as long as we continue to show activity, those
the deadlines?
cast in stone deadlines that we got in our original letter, which was December 31st, will be gracefully ignored by all parties.
My personal opinion is this, and that's all it is. They want to be able to go to the people that they need to go to. We've all got bosses, and say, yep, I'm on them. And show, if I can give them progress, we can give them progress, so we're on it, and they can go to their bosses and say, yeah, Alstead, they're still moving, you know, there were 2,000 people, they don't have a ton of money, so I'm taking it easy on them. As long as we can show them that we're acting in good faith and give them enough to go to their bosses with, that seems to be okay to them. They can't say that out loud, but that seems to be the sense I get when I talk to them.
I just wondered, since you got the letter last year and they extended their deadlines already.
They seem to be just saying, yeah, because basically, you know, when you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars, they recognize the fact that we just can't get that money. It just doesn't, it doesn't appear. And they've been reasonable in understanding that. And as long as, okay, we formed the committee, that's something great to add to the next report. We're looking at all the different options, another great thing to add to the report. So as long as we can continue to show honest, genuine, good faith effort to comply, I think they're going to be just fine. It's a theory.
So are you going to actually try to get the gate open at some time?
Yeah, we have to.
Soon?
Yeah, we have to.
We have to figure that out.
It's part of the LOD, we have to.
Is it possible?
Ma'am?
Do all these regulations change when the new administration comes in?
Maybe.
I guarantee you there's a politician running this fall for an office in the state of New Hampshire whose sole purpose is to remove DES entirely. I don't know who that is, but I bet there's one.
I bet there's more than one.
Must be the guy that owns the dam.
Let's circle back around here. We're agreed generally that, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, we're agreed generally that returning the recreation area to full functionality is our goal. That includes swimming. Generally, we agree.
Yeah.
We very much agree that revitalizing the Vilas Pool Committee on the first Wednesday of October is what we're going to do. That's terrific. This is all extremely helpful. It will also help us in our case, in our plea for continued leniency from DES. One of the things that makes us look more worthy of consideration is that there are towns not too far from here who've said, really? LOD? Come and get me. And of course they're gonna, but in the meantime we'll be chugging along towards the goal that actually everybody wants success. You know, we want downstream protection, we want water quality protection, and we want our recreational area back in full service. I think it's fair to say there's nobody over at DES who thinks those are bad ideas or unobtainable goals or even irrational goals. Our job is to make sure that we continue to identify what the goals are, put a price tag on it, and keep moving towards it. It's not complicated. Yes, you're absolutely right. We didn't spend enough time on this particular project after 2005.
Are you sure there isn't another special meeting going on that the first Wednesday of the month?
Well, I depend on Linda to remember stuff like that, because she's so much younger than I am.
Committee, I mean, that won't interfere with our committee, will?
Conservation Commission meets on
Good.
first Wednesday.
Yes, that's right. it
That's
does.
excellent.
But they meet at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
And you won't be meeting.
We would hope that those two committees would have a common area of interest, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Along with the river people.
The river people.
Thank you, Sam.
The village people. Yeah. What else can we do for each other tonight? Here's a handout.
Oh, you don't want to ask.
I don't actually live in Alstead, I live in Langdon, but I'm just above Vilas Pool.
Yeah.
But I have lived my whole life in this area, and as a young person, Vilas Pool was packed every weekend with picnickers. There was horseshoe pits in there with sides on them so that the horseshoes didn't go off into the crowd. And many, many activities for kids. And I think the committee needs to look at that because that's so much of a bringing a community together, is to be able to go up there and have Sunday afternoon picnics and your kids can play ball and the fathers can play horseshoes. That it's great for the town and it's a big beginning towards getting Vilas Pool back to what it used to be.
I know what would help, we could make it all Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of attraction because families nowadays, when they do something big, they go to Six Flags or they go to the ocean. I have done activities up there every Saturday afternoon since 1998. And sometimes I have 2 kids show up. I don't know how to get people out anymore. You know, I advertise picnics and events, and I don't know. I mean, that would be wonderful to see lots of people up there, but I don't know how to bring them out. So, anyone has any ideas, that would be great.
The 3rd week of July is when all the kids go to Bible school, Vacation Bible School.
We're not opposed to that, are we? I didn't think so.
No, I actually thought it would be a good idea if we turn it into a community center at some point. It sounds like it used to be a community center, and I think if more people in town knew, once it's fixed and you get everything going.
Well, years ago, we used to have a Vilas Pool Day, and we would go and work all the time.
That's
and
right.
And work on our guys and our jumps and everything, and people would go there.
Well,
Start-
it's in our hands, we can have all
starting in
that.
June. And they had Vilas Pool Day, was like the last weekend, I think in August or something. So it gave the kids an opportunity to go and sign up for something, and something that they would work at. You know, you would go and work diligently at what you had signed up for, whether it was the horseshoes or the diving or the whatever, you know, just swimming as fast as you could across Vilas Pool or the rowboating, you know, that kids went there a lot because of that.
Yeah, we have hot dogs too. Hot dogs are good.
They
didn't have no computers standing in the way.
Huh?
You didn't have no computers.
No, that's right.
You didn't have that.
What other comments? What other topics?
Well, I want to thank you for getting this meeting together.
Thanks for showing up. I mean, really, it's all on you.
We are glad to know that you are all in agreement with us that we want to reconstruct Bible School.
Yeah,
Right, we'll get that.
we just want the townspeople to know the facts and to know how complicated all this has become. It's outrageous, really.
Oh. But this is important information that we didn't, you know, we didn't make available to you. I mean, this is really critical stuff. And it's a great resource. It's a gift from a man who loved this town more than any other. We have responsibility to be stewards of that money and also the things that he left us. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. Many of you are old enough to remember when the dam was falling apart or needed something really expensive in the late 70s, and Hannah Laura Hancock stood up over there and called us out as we were talking about cheapening it out. Remember that? I'm still a little embarrassed. So I think we're doing the right thing, and I think this is the best little town there is, and I want that governor over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Matt Saxton knows how to squeeze permits out.
The pool is an amazing place. To lose it, because we didn't try to at least find out how much work it would be. You know, this is baby step number 1 tonight. I think that you'll always regret it if you don't try. To at least get all the facts. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking, did you go to the meeting? Well, what did they tell you? Well, you got to go to the next meeting and really be there. You know, Facebook is, I know I hate to involve a computer with all of this, but maybe, like, you know, she has done an amazing job with Facebook, and to have Facebook just for Vilas School where people can ask questions, and then people in the know can answer them, and then people that are just looking and reading what you have, it's there in black and white. But of course, you have to make sure your answers are correct.
It was funny because actually there's so many people that live right here in town did not even know that there was issues with Vilas Pool. didn't know that there was no swimming. So it's has made it become, people have become aware, which is a good thing, you know. And I think that, and that includes a lot. It's not blaming on just selectmen. I think it's blaming all around residents, everybody. Because we should have been doing something long ago. The longer we have let buildings go and everything, the more costly it's going to be. It is something that we should have been on top of right along.
Everybody's gonna be here during the reading of the warrants. Excellent. Reading of the warrants. You know, where we spend your money.
Oh, yeah, but we got money if we take a lawyer.
So I think we're almost done. I'll just give you a little commercial for what's coming. You will remember that the selectmen are strong advocates for return to traditional town meeting structure. And sometime within the next 8 weeks, you'll get something in your mailbox explaining our reasoning. It's tough. And I'm not here to defend SB2 or even to criticize it. It was a great idea. It doesn't work for us. That's my opinion. In order to convince you that we should return to the Norman Rockwell style where Hannah Laura can stand up and give me a rational shit, I have to spell it out why I think that we would be the first town in New Hampshire to take a step back from SB2. Why we think that's a good idea. So I will be pitching you on that in the months to come very gently and hope that it becomes a hot topic. We also are going to have a candidates night sometime, if we can make it all come together. And we'll communicate with you in the usual hyper-efficient U.S. Postal Service way. I love those postcards. They're really cool. And they're economic as well. Make one copy at the office. What's it, $116?
$169.
$138 and get one in everybody's box. Yes, ma'am.
Serene and I are having a bake sale this Saturday down at Millet Green because we need to try and raise about $1,200 to get a electronic speeding sign to hopefully slow people down. Okay, because it's getting out of hand.
Main Street, USA, that's where it belongs.
We have had 3 accidents alone on Hill Road.
Stop.
Okay, and in front of the school. Every time Chief D'Alessandro stops somebody, I didn't know the school zone. Seriously. So we're trying to, we're going to have bake sale, we're going to also have a white elephant sale, which is high-end items. So if everybody could please spread the word, because Marcello is having a grant to cover half the cost. So we just have to, oh no, he said he does have it.
Okay.
He did, yes, he told me he does have it.
He's gonna.
So we just have to, he wanted 2, but we would have had to come up with over 2,000.
2 signs?
He wanted to get 2, but we're gonna settle for 1 for now. We'll see how this goes.
So we still need bakers.
Yes.
When is that now?
That's the thing, the line is.
I know, that's, we thought it would still be good, this is traffic going through. It'll be held in Millet Green at 10 o'clock, so if you wanna bake something, you can bring it down anytime.
Or donation.
All right, how's everybody feel about going home?
Great.
All right, let's do that.
Thank you very much.